Imagine a world where one nation seemed unstoppable, a war machine that, in just a few short years, had conquered nearly all of Europe. From the sands of North Africa to the icy plains of Russia, German forces moved with precision, speed, and terrifying efficiency. But just as quickly as it rose, it fell. The question remains, how did a country so dominant at the start of World War II end up in complete ruin by 1945? This is the story of why Germany lost World War II. A story not of one fatal mistake, but a series of them, each compounding the next, until defeat became inevitable. To understand Germany's downfall, we must first understand its beginning, the illusion of invincibility. In 1939, when Hitler invaded Poland, the world watched in shock. Within weeks, Poland fell. By mid-1940, Germany had crushed Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and even France, all in a matter of months. The strategy, known as Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, was revolutionary. Fast-moving tanks, coordinated airstrikes, and mobile infantry overwhelmed defenders before they could even react. For a brief moment, Hitler's Germany seemed untouchable. But beneath this dazzling display of power lay deep cracks, economic, strategic, and ideological, that would soon tear the Third Reich apart. Success breeds confidence, and in Hitler's case, overconfidence. After the swift victory over France, he believed Germany was unstoppable. He turned his gaze eastward, toward the Soviet Union. Despite a non-aggression pact, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa in June 1941, invading the largest country on Earth. It was a gamble driven by ideology and arrogance, the belief that the Soviet Union would crumble in just a few months. For a while, it seemed to work. German forces advanced rapidly, capturing millions of Soviet soldiers. But then came the Russian winter, a brutal enemy that no general could outmaneuver. The Wehrmacht was not equipped for sub-zero conditions. Engines froze, weapons jammed, soldiers suffered frostbite by the thousands, and as temperatures dropped, Soviet resistance stiffened. The German dream of victory turned into a nightmare of attrition. Hitler had opened a second front, and it would bleed Germany dry. Every great empire learns this lesson. You can conquer territory, but you must also sustain it. Germany's military machine was powerful, but not infinite. As the war expanded, so did the distances they had to cover. By 1942, supply lines stretched thousands of kilometers, from France to the Volga River. Fuel shortages crippled tanks and aircraft. Food supplies dwindled. Ammunition became scarce. The German economy simply couldn't keep up with the demands of global war. While the Allies could draw on the industrial power of the United States, Germany had no such advantage. It was fighting three economic giants: Britain, the USSR, and the USA. In the long run, that was a war Germany could never win. At the beginning of the war, many saw Hitler as a strategic genius, a man who defied military conventions and won. But as victory intoxicated him, he began to ignore his own generals. He micromanaged decisions from Berlin, refusing to retreat even when logic demanded it. The result? Catastrophic losses. At Stalingrad in 1942, Hitler's obsession with capturing the city led to one of the bloodiest battles in history. Over 300,000 German soldiers were trapped and eventually destroyed by Soviet forces. It was not just a military defeat, it was a psychological one. The myth of invincibility was shattered. From that point on, Germany was on the defensive. Hitler's refusal to adapt, his belief in willpower over strategy, and his persecution of Jews, scientists, and dissenters, all of it drained Germany's intellectual and moral strength. While Germany stumbled, the Allies grew stronger. In North Africa, General Rommel's Afrika Korps was finally pushed back by British forces. In the skies, the Luftwaffe, once dominant, was overwhelmed by Allied bombers. By 1943, Allied aircraft controlled the air. By 1944, they controlled the seas. And then came D-Day, June 6, 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Over 150,000 Allied troops stormed the beaches of Normandy, establishing a foothold in Western Europe. Hitler had fortified the coast, a so-called Atlantic Wall, but it wasn't enough. Germany now faced a two-front war it could never sustain. World War II was not just fought on battlefields, it was fought in factories. Germany's industry, though advanced, could not match the sheer scale of Allied production. By 1944, the United States alone was producing over 50,000 aircraft per year, while Germany managed less than half that. The Allies had endless oil, steel, and manpower. Germany, on the other hand, faced crippling shortages and relentless bombings that devastated its cities. Even with late-war innovations, jet fighters, V-2 rockets, advanced submarines, it was too little, too late. Technology could not save an exhausted empire. By early 1945, the end was inevitable. Soviet forces closed in from the east. American, British, and Canadian troops advanced from the west. German cities lay in ruins. The Luftwaffe was shattered. The once mighty Wehrmacht was fighting on empty. In April 1945, as Soviet troops entered Berlin, Hitler took refuge in his underground bunker. On April 30th, he took his own life. A week later, Germany surrendered unconditionally. The war that Hitler promised would last 1,000 years had lasted just 12. So why did Germany lose World War II? Historians point to many reasons: economic inferiority, strategic overreach, poor leadership, and the overwhelming might of the Allies. But at its heart, Germany lost because it fought a total war on too many fronts for goals that were impossible to achieve. Its ideology blinded it to reality, its leadership silenced reason, and its aggression united the world against it. World War II left Europe in ruins and changed the course of history forever. Tens of millions perished. Orders were redrawn. The Cold War began. From the ashes of the Third Reich came a lesson humanity must never forget. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. And wars, no matter how glorious they seem at first, always end in ruin.